say the plate. And earlier today, Kyle Washington said, from the driver's perspective, his perspective, it was disgraceful to be racing like that. He expressed his frustration on the video last week. Is there a solution, or is this just an evolution of things, and there's not really a solution to fix this?
Yeah, I mean, you got to get the car spread out a little bit more. I think that so it makes you have to, because right now I think you can be 30th and only be a second behind the leader and just sit in this big old pack and save fuel. So and then those cars would jump ahead, where in the olden days the cars were spread out more. Handling was a factor, and it was not as easy to, it's much harder now to navigate from the front to the back by driving up there. So everyone's trying to do it through strategy because track position is so important.
Is it a problem for the sports, or it's just the next level of racing? That helped you in the duel, gained a bunch of positions, so you guys are smart enough to make it work. So is it a problem, or just...
Well, it's a problem because now everyone's going to do it right. I mean, it works when a couple guys do it and it doesn't affect the racing because but once the field starts slowing down 5 seconds, obviously I think no fans want to see that, and certainly we want to be racing for them for all 200 laps. I think that's the goal, really, is we need to be racing around that track at 100%. Handling should matter, all those things should matter, but we've just we've crept the speeds of the cars down so much that and gotten so much drag in on that this is fuel's an important factor, more important than ever.
But how is that any different? You've been in this sport long enough. I mean, I can remember 3 times you guys would all get single file at Talladega and run the top line, or run all single. I mean,
we did that though. We did that because we didn't want to crash. We were just biding our time. You were able to make up positions naturally because your car would handle really well. Where now it just seems like once you get the first 2 lines going, that's pretty much it. Unless there's some fuel saving going. So super speedway racing's not always been super exciting, but once they added the stages, I felt that really kind of helped the type of racing that we saw on those tracks, and certainly I'm sure NASCAR will make some sort of adjustment to try to curtail some of this fuel saving.
Any more importance to what you learned here because you come back here to the playoffs compared to last year when you're coming back here?
I'm not really sure. I mean, I see this as like a Daytona Talladega where I haven't really had handling issues at this racetrack, so is there a lot to learn maybe for the team, but I don't know about for myself.
Like compared to Vegas and Phoenix?
Yeah, those tracks certainly you definitely are learning a lot. Building setups, handling is what matters, and until we don't get to the 3rd race of the season before handling really is a big issue. So this is just the first 2 races are super speedways, and it's just a different beast. We'll get into the grunt of the season 4 or 5 weeks from now.
Is the conversation within your team how you manage Daytona and Atlanta, because it's super speedways and you don't want to necessarily, you could be down serious car count and then you're going on the West Coast. I was curious if there's any conversation about how you kind of work through that.
Yeah, I think all the teams kind of make sure they've got their cars in line, and even if they lost all of them, ideally from a financial standpoint it's not very good, but they've got inventory around they've shuffled things to make sure there's always an emergency car there if they need it. So I don't think, maybe for the small teams it probably might be a little bigger issue, but certainly the way that we work in particular, I don't think that we have any car count issues right now.
From a driver standpoint, how has the racing evolved at Atlanta with this configuration?
Well, it's a different track than it certainly used to be, for sure. It's more of a speedway drafting type track, so it takes a little bit different technique. Usually when we were coming around here, the practice that we have was so crucial to getting your car right for the duration of the race. But this one, again, I probably won't say anything about handling more than about 3 or 4 times the entire race. It's just a very circumstantial of get myself up there, make sure we have good strategy, do a good job on and off pit road. This is going to be the same story as last week, and just see what happens. But I think that I don't think the fuel saving stuff's going away this week.
Steve Phelps said he'd like to see 36 Denny Hamlins in the field, and I think he was
I
talking.
think he's lying.
Could you imagine 36 of you, whether it's
No.
personality, talent, whatever?
No, I don't think so. I think there's room for everyone at the table for sure, and certainly the clashing personalities is what makes rivalries, right? I mean, I think that you look at, I've gotten into it, had a rivalry with just about anybody that's been pretty good in the sport, and then some that are even average. I just think that, that's what makes those rivalries is clashing styles, clashing ideals, and so that's what the sport was built off of. I mean, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt couldn't be any more different, right? But it created kind of a rivalry.
You were very complimentary of Byron after he won the 500. What have you seen in his progression that hasn't raised your ire like some of the young drivers have coming in?
Excuse me. I don't have co-bearing.
Okay.
I think, I just super, envious of kind of how he's progressed as a driver. I mean, I think we saw it from the Truck Series to Xfinity Series. He always was winning, and again, he's always had really great equipment, but so have a lot of his teammates as well. So he's just continually, in my mind, gotten better and better. And then to be, what is he, in his mid-20s or so? He's got such a long future ahead. He's a guy that, we could be talking about in that 60, 70 win category if he keeps going on this pace. So he's got the potential.
You
seen his track evolve?
and Truex 12th and 13th in qualifying. Is that a big enough step after what you showed at Daytona in qualifying?
Yeah, I'm really happy with the gain in the qualifying. Again, I think some of it could be. I think getting up to speed is a little more important at this racetrack because it's only 1.5 miles, so we don't have that extra mile to get drugged by those cars that have less drag. So, or horsepower. It's tough to figure out which one. But I think it's the field is generally just tighter at this type of track because it's shorter, even though it's a wide open track. But I do think it's a good thing that we're not buried in the 30s like we were last week.
Have you seen this track evolve? There's been some conversation about this track is eventually going to evolve away from a drafting track to be more of a go back to the old Atlanta. Have you seen that, and do you think that will eventually continue down that road?
I think that they'll make adjustments to keep it this way as long as possible. I think they'll change the tire to give it more grip. I think that this tire needs to get worked on. I think it is getting worked on in the middle of the summer. They're going to change the tire for the fall. So to make sure they keep the speedway style racing going here for as long as they can. So they'll just continue, I think, making the tire grippier and grippier as the asphalt loses a little more grip. So it's still, I think, are we 2 years into this? Yeah. It's, it hasn't changed that much. It's a little bit, but it hasn't changed that much. We're still under the tire quite a bit.
And you think that they're going to do whatever, there's repainting, tire, or whatever, they're going to want to maintain the characteristics of pack racing here.
I think so. I think that they're likely going to want to keep it this way for as long as they can.
With the success of Toyota's 1.5 miles going next week to Vegas, what's kind of your anticipation?